Good evening. It's Wednesday evening, Thursday evening. Uh, in this day and age, days seem to blur together, don't they? And so I'm going to consider this midweek, and I'd just like to check in with everyone and see how you think things are going. I think the course is off to a pretty good start after 1 week. A lot of material will be covered from now until the end of the course over the next 7 weeks. But if the first week was any indication, people are engaging and people are writing well and conversing with each other, and I'm very pleased with what I see. This is a large group. I believe right now we're sitting at 21. And as I maybe have mentioned earlier, that is a large amount of discussion. That's a large amount of assignment reading. I'm doing what I can to get through it on a timely basis, and I did make it through all the assignments today. So not quite the Wednesday I expected, but at least by Thursday and by the time people are ready to start on this week's assignment, I hope you have at least had a chance to take a look at not only the grade but the comments that come with it. And that's all, again, intended with the idea of you becoming a better communicator and actually understanding the material we want it to cover. So it's always going to be two-pronged. It's going to have those aspects. One thing I did want to talk to, two things I did want to talk to you tonight about, because they've come up in classes before, and they started to come up a little bit this week, and I thought maybe I'd just give you some ideas on how to handle this as they come along. And there are two things that have to do with the writing of papers and the writing of discussions and how we want to do things mechanically. And they may be some things that people have never told you before. And shame on us as educators. This is a 400 level course. This is a senior level course. And I am afraid sometimes I expect things that I'm sometimes stunned to find out that people have never been told. And on behalf of the profession, I apologize for that. We should make these things clear. These are important. So the two things I want to talk to you about tonight, because I think it's better if I talk to you about them before they come up too often. And one is happening fairly often, and I think it's just a habit that people are in and nobody's ever talked to you about. So let's do the more serious, if you will, one first. And this is the idea that I have seen now for several courses in a row, that if you've written something for one course, you can use it in the next, right? Not just use it, copy it and submit it, and maybe not the entire paper, but a big chunk of it. And as I refamiliarize myself with the management curriculum, I was in the business administration function for many years. I do realize, and I look at some other courses, and I go in and just maneuver about and let me see what's been happening. Yeah, there are some questions you're going to get in this course that may seem remarkably similar to some in the HRM program and maybe even some other management courses. And this week was very, very plain to see that might happen, and fortunately it didn't really pop up. But one of the things is when we asked you to profile a company, you choose a company and profile this company, and you're going to be using this for many weeks to come. And what I've seen happen on a number of occasions is people just take whatever they did back for HRM 335 or management whatever, and here comes that same paper, and put it mildly, you can't do that, all right? One of the things that will happen right away, you are all aware that we do use automatically the Safe Assign academic integrity software. And when your paper comes in for grading, one of the first things I see is a number called matching percentage. Now, there's a couple of things about matching percentage you ought to know. One, references, for instance, by definition, are matching. Okay, so I'm going to discount that right away. But when I start seeing numbers in the 40s, 50s, 60s, even 70 or 80%, well, alarm bells start to go off. And one of the more common errors that people make is taking maybe, let's say, I went to profile, I don't know, company ABC, and I did it for a course two terms ago. And now you're asking me to pick a company again. Well, let me go and grab that profile I did, and I'll at least take a big chunk of it, the beginning, the history, and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to put that in there. I'm just going to copy it and paste it in my new assignment. After all, it's my work, right? I'm not plagiarizing anything. How can I steal my own work? Well, actually, according to good academic practice, you can. Each course has to be considered as a separate entity. And by that I mean they are different enough from each other that they deserve their own research, their own writing. And academic convention would demand that you do that. So essentially, when you take your own work and resubmit it, yes, it's your own, but guess what you've become? You've become your own source, just as though that work were by someone else. And what does that require? It requires you to cite it and to reference it. And as we all know, that's really not enough either, right? We don't just cite something and paste it in word for word. You need to paraphrase it. You need to build on it. You need to use it to inform your new context that you're writing in and your new subject that you're writing about. And so the things are there that set you up to do something that may seem totally ridiculous. Why am I being forced to do all this with my own work? I can't steal from myself. Well, in a way you can. And what it's really wanting to do is this. We want you to use your prior work to build on that work to gain new knowledge and new insights. And as you develop as a student and as a scholar, you will do that. All right? This is not a requirement of the university. This is not a requirement of me. This is a requirement of standard academic practice. You'll find it universally applied. And in a graduate level, which is not that far away from many of you, it would be considered a serious offense. I'm not considering it an offense. I'm considering it an error, and I don't think anybody's ever talked to you about it. So if you'd like more information about it or have questions, please let me know. And we can talk about it, and I can show you why this is important. This is something you just, as a student, especially as a student at the 400 level, you need to understand this. Okay. So again, don't copy from yourself. Use your past work. Certainly use your past work as a source, and build on it. Become better every time you approach that topic. Okay. The second one, this is more just from me, because there's no real rule about this, but there's something that I've already said to several of you in comments, and I do it every semester. I see it all the time, and here's something I wish you would not do, and I will give you a sound reason for it. When you either have an assignment or a discussion, please do not write the assignment question and the discussion question. Write them over again into the body of your paper or your answer. I know what the questions are. I have the text available, right? I have the discussion board available to me. I know what the questions are. They just take up a lot of space. The other thing they do is, I spoke earlier, the academic integrity software. Well, guess what? It's seen those questions in the textbook, or it's seen them in the course, or it's seen them in prior students writing them into their papers where I think they shouldn't have. And guess what happens again? That matching percentage just balloons. It goes up all over the place. And it takes time to go over and figure out what has happened. And generally that's what's going on, okay? But there's a really more important reason for it. And the thing I find, and I've been paying attention to this for a long time, is when a student writes the question in and tries to answer it in their paper, guess what they answer? That question. That's all they answer. And the whole idea is to have that question, as I've said to several of you, it's to have that question guide your response, not dictate your response. It tends to confine your thinking just to the specifics of that question, and it doesn't let your mind open up, right? We want your mind to open up. We want you to think. We want you to think critically and think expansively about the issues at hand and apply them to the issues and the materials and the sources that we're providing. So when you just write that question in and then proceed to answer it, you've really closed down a whole bunch of avenues that you have to express yourself. So really, please, don't write the question into the discussion board and then answer the question. Double that in an assignment. Don't write down the question and then answer the section. Then write down question 2 and answer that. That may help you doing your draft. That's fine. But when you do your submission, please, because it just muddies the water. It actually destroys the flow of the writing. And that is part of communications too. All right, so these are just a couple of hints, and there are a couple of things I did want to talk about and make sure that we get that in front of us. I know this announcement then becomes a little long, but please, as I asked you before, please look at the announcements. Please look at the videos. They contain information. This is information designed to help. This is information designed to make you a better student, to make the course a better learning experience. So again, it's off to a good start, and I thought maybe I'd head off some problems before they occur. Thank you for your attention tonight. Okay, good evening.